Hey guys, Civilord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Thundercats Ultimates Snowman of Hook Mountain. This of course is brought to us by the fine folks over at Super7, as well as my good buddy, Evil Villain. Click the link in the description below. Head on over to his Instagram and give him a follow. Let him know Overlord sent you, but as always, don't be a jerk face. I will find you, and you will not like the consequences. I assure you. And then he'll find you, and then you really won't like the consequences. But we won't get into all of that, because we got Sam the Snowman of Hook Mountain to talk about here. And the reason I say that is because, for those of you who are not in the know, Thundercats was created by Rankin Bass Productions, who are notorious for the stop-motion animation Christmas specials you see on TV around, well, the holiday season. One of which is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which features Sam the Snowman, voiced by Burl Ives. That said, there is the abominable snow monster of the North, otherwise known as the Bumble, and I can't help but feel that this guy is a combination of both the Bumble and the Knight character from Rudolph's Shiny New Year, with a beard hanging out of his helmet that always yells, "Helpless!" And we'll get into that in just a moment when we talk about accessories. So, with that being said, before we get too far ahead of ourselves with story time and nostalgic whatnots, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and potatoes of this review and take a look-see at all the Snowman of Hook Mountain has to offer in terms of said accessories, starting off with a pair of tight-fisted grip hands. So he's got little holes for his hands, little teeny tiny holes, so he can hold his various weapons, of which he does come with 2. Technically 3, but 2 of them are actually weapons. He also comes with a pair of fists, in case he just wants to punch you upside the head, because you be walking on his turf. He also comes with this little rock shield, which fits over the hand in a specific way. I do believe it fits over the left hand like this the best. He also comes with this giant frickin' lance, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is the vintage toy weapon, this lance. So I will probably be displaying him with this, even though it is humongous and not the most practical thing ever. He also comes with this spear, which, not for nothing, this would look good with a Mythic Legion's like ogre figure or a brute scale figure. It's got the rock kind of tip there, and then the wooden handle. So I might give this to a Mythic Legions figure. I don't know which one. I have plenty to choose from, but there is that Frost Ogre coming out, and I think it would look good with him. And last but not least, we have his trusty helmet, which is like a Metal Knight helmet, which is very odd because you have his stone lance, his stone-tipped spear, and his stone shield. You would think he'd have a stone helmet. No, it's a straight-up Metal Shiny Knight's helmet. Like some straight-up King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table shit. I don't know what is going on here, but I like it. It does fit on his head quite well, too. You just got to get it on there right. We'll do that before we move along to size comparisons. But taking a closer look at the Snowman. Does he have a hoodie? What the heck? He's got like a little hoodie on his back. I didn't even notice that. That's kind of funny. But I guess that would match up with the sleeves on his arms. So is he wearing like a parka? He must be wearing like a parka. That's interesting. I never noticed that before. I thought for whatever reason this was his body. This big white fur mass. Because truth be told, I used to have the LJN version of this guy. I actually do believe I sent that to Evil Villain some time ago. But it was one of the first LJN Thundercats I ever got from my buddy Tom Chaplin, Tom DeSico, whatever he goes by now, of the Geek Culture Podcast, for those of you who are familiar with that. It's a local thing. He doesn't do it anymore, unfortunately. It was a really good podcast, but if you're ever in the Saratoga area of upstate New York during the spring or the fall, there is the Saratoga City Comic-Con, and he usually has a table selling pins and trading cards nowadays, but he used to sell toys. And that is where I got Snowman of Hook Mountain. So everything comes full circle here at Overlord Productions. We don't leave you hanging like that, unless we do. But in any case, as far as his articulation goes, for a big guy, he's got a decent amount, but his head will rotate quite alright, actually. He's got enough tilt to where it does actually rotate and look natural and not like he's the Exorcist or something. I imagine you could pop this off, but I wouldn't advise that unless you heat it up first, because let me tell you what, I did a review of Jaga yesterday. Jaga. And after I was done with that review, and a couple others to be honest with you, I heated up his alternate head and popped it on. Boy oh boy, did that not actually do jack squat. I had to put soap on it and everything to get it loosened up enough to where I was comfortable to turn the freaking thing. So yeah, Super7 are not the best when it comes to head articulation and swappable heads in general. They're just too gosh darn tight. They really need to abandon this weird hidden disc hinge tech, or at the very least put the hinge in like the top of the neck instead of the bottom, or just better yet, double ball pegs all around, because at least if the ball peg is lodged deep in the neck, you can still turn the head that way and you don't have to worry about the head being easy to turn on the top ball peg and, you know, putting pressure on that and snapping it potentially. That said, I didn't break nothing. It was just a pain in the ass. As far as the shoulders go, they will raise up about this far. You might want to hit these with a little bit of heat. But they go up about this far, which is far enough, I think. They do crunch back down. They will swing back and forth. I like to leave them popped out like one notch, just for, you know, a natural pose. His elbows will rotate as well as bend at least 90 degrees, if not maybe a little shy of that. He does have swivel hinge wrists with the inappropriate hinge for holding stuff, which kind of sucks, but whatever. And as far as his ab crunch goes, it will go back a smidge. It'll go forward, but either there's a notch or something on mine, or it's just not happening. Like, it feels like it wants to go forward, but it doesn't. It kind of just pops back up. So, he does crunch forward slightly, but either there's some flashing in mine, or it's just the mold. That said, I'm not sure if this plastic's going to age the best, because it does feel like that old Mattel DC Classics plastic that kind of cracks after a while. If you got some of the old Collected Connects, you know what I'm talking about. So hopefully that's not the case and this lasts a while, but I may wind up loosening these shoulders a bit just so they don't put any unwanted pressure on that torso, because lifting this arm up, holy cowabunga, Batman, that is a tight joint, but works okay now. That said, as far as his waist goes, he will turn here. And it doesn't look too bad. As far as the hips go, they will rotate forward and back. Out pretty well. He does have a thigh cut. It's squeaky, but it's not super tight. He's got a swivel in the knee. Now this knee was stuck, like straight up stuck. I just used some brute force and cracked that thing loose. That said, his knees will bend that far. At least this one does. The other one doesn't bend as far for some weird reason, but this one will bend like almost 90 degrees. I don't know if it's just because this is more open, so you could probably hit this with a hairdryer and spread it out and get more range out of this, but this one, you can see, it don't bend that much at all. Whereas the other one, you get plenty of range out of it. Unless I have something backwards here, but I don't think I do. As far as his feet go, however, they will hinge. And he does have a rocker in there, so fairly decent articulation. I think he's got peg holes. Yeah, he's got peg holes. When you got big old honking snowman feet, you don't really got to worry about that. This shoulder piece is an overlay, and it does get out of the way when it comes to the arms. On top of the fact it doesn't really hang over the arms all that much. Just enough, but I don't think it's enough to be too big of a problem. But as far as putting his helmet on goes, if I can show this properly on the camera, you can see inside the helmet, it does have a couple of notches in there, and those notches line up with his ears. Now, he does come packaged with this helmet, but it's not like fastened to his head, so you're going to want to be careful and not lose it. But once you get this on there, it's pretty snug. It's just getting it on there that's a little tricky. But again, once you get it on there, it stays for the most part. And I want to say that is that. There you go. There is the Snowman of Hook Mountain, complete with his helmet. It sits on there good enough, but could be a little better. I would have preferred just an alt head, to be honest with you, but since the helmet's big and bulky anyways, I don't mind it. I think it's fine. But moving him back, panning the camera up a little bit so we can get his little spiker in the shot. There you go. There is the Snowman of Hook Mountain in all his helmeted glory. So, with that being said, it is time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Snowman of Hook Mountain, alongside a couple other larger sized characters from the Super 7 Thundercats Ultimates line. We have the mighty Mongor to the left, and the even mightier Mum-Ra, the ever-living, to the right. A couple of villains, because as I mentioned earlier, I don't have a lot of good guys in this line. Snowman, Jaga, Lino, and Panthro being the only ones I have currently. And as you can see, Snowman is about even with Mongor, but I think falls a little shorter than Mum-Ra, just because, well, he's the big bad. He's got to be, well, big. So, getting them out of the way. So you can bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulith. Which, come to think of it, I don't think there is a Yeti in the Mythic Legion's line just yet. As well as the infamous 11 Spawn. And obviously, since Snowman is a chunkier fella, he is going to tower over good old Al Simmons here. Not by a lot, but enough for it to be stated. So, with that being said, it is time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and out of all of the Thundercats Ultimates figures, we'll be taking a look-see at here on the channel from the fine folks over at Super 7. I don't think it should surprise any of you regular viewers of the channel, that is, that good old Snowman of Hook Mountain is my favorite of what we will be taking a look at, because I love me a good Yeti character, and this figure is a big old chunky monkey, and if Super 7 excels anything, it's big old chunky characters like this. Also, bonus points for the fact that this was one of the few Thundercats vintage figures from the LJN line I actually had, so I do have some attachment to this character already. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.